Alright, now I'm gonna go on a little rant, but before you cancel me, let me explain where I'm coming from, okay? I've been researching the history of the Philippines, and basically, before Spanish colonization, it was just a bunch of little islands in the southeast, where people from modern day Malaysia, India, Africa, Indonesia, I already said that. They came through and they settled in. People from different races and cultures came through these islands, leaving and taking pieces of culture. Centuries of the mixing of this boiling pot that was these little islands in the Philippines resulted in what is now called the Filipino race. But we were never known as Filipinos, nor the islands even called the Philippines, until the conquerors from Europe came over and decided that this is one country, that's another country, this one belongs to me. The Philippines as a real concrete thing doesn't exist. The United States as a real concrete thing doesn't exist. All these things are just random pieces of land. At some point, the Philippines was just other pieces of land. Same thing goes for every single country on this earth. Really, these physical and political lines of division are just concepts of relativity. One village in the mountains in the Philippines might think that the village over the hill are different people, that they look different or have different culture. But to us, they're just people of the Cordillera mountain range or whatever. Really, cultures are just ways of living that people have just done because of the resources available to them. And we only continue to do them because it's just what has been done. Throughout the course of history, every group of people has and continues to appropriate different concepts and ideas from other cultures. That's the beauty of the human race. We learn from each other. We implement others' ideas in order to make our lives better. It's a part of the evolution of humanity, collaboration, and unity. Cultural appropriation is and always has been a part of human existence. And it's not a bad thing, it's not a problem. What is a problem is cultural exploitation. You see the media rebranding and whitewashing parts of other cultures and selling it back to the masses as something it's not. That's cultural exploitation. When a fast fashion company steals designs from women in Peru and then sells it back to people pretending that they designed it themselves without giving any credit, that's cultural exploitation. But when a black man wears a kimono, or a Filipino person learns Indian cuisine, or a Polish person wears dreadlocks, or I wear a t-shirt designed by an English woman, that is cultural appropriation. And it's beautiful. It's all about intent. But that doesn't mean that you have to be culturally appreciating in order for it to be okay. Cultural appreciation and exploitation is very different, but it's not necessary. I don't know what culture invented my TV remote, but I still use it without appreciating what culture it came from, without even knowing where it came from. But that's fine. Today, when social justice warriors call out cultural appropriation, more times than not, they're being racist. Because it's not about culture, it's about race. They won't get mad when I wear a kimono. But if I wore dreadlocks after spending years with the Maasai people, immersing myself and becoming a part of that culture, I would be called out and canceled. It's outright hypocrisy. But the fucking justice warriors don't care when they appropriate Indian culture, when they go to their yoga class held by a white person, or every time that they appropriate Yemenic culture, every time they buy overpriced coffee. Really, if we're trying to end racism, we can't say and limit what people can or can't do based on their race. Being that all cultures that exist morph and change, and they're all not static, we have to see that all cultures belong to all people, regardless of gender or race or whatever the fuck. Every human's just a filter for the world. We all take in every idea we come across, and we hold on to the ones that make us feel good and we feel like represent who we are on the inside. But we can't decide what people should or shouldn't use to represent themselves, based on presets, bodies, and locations that they didn't consent to be born into. People should be able to represent themselves using elements from all over the world without restrictions based on superficial constructs. Going back to how all modern nations are superficial constructs, at any given point, these arbitrary lines of division can shift or even cease to exist. I mean, this ties in with nationalism. It's fucking stupid and evil in any form. Whether it's a Nazi persecuting others or a Filipino feeling pride when a Filipino wins Miss Universe. It's all fucked up. Why should I be proud when Pia Wurtzbach wins Miss Universe, when 2,000 years ago, I wouldn't even think of her as the same ethnicity as me? Why should I be proud when the USA wins the Olympics, when I'm just as connected to every single one of those competitors as I am to the ones from the US? Alright, let's look at the definition of cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation is the adoption of certain elements from another culture without the consent of people who belong to that culture. Okay, first of all, how am I supposed to get consent and permission from every single Muslim person if I wanted to wear a hijab? According to the definition of cultural appropriation, me and every single Filipino is the amalgamation of cultural appropriation. My language, my culture, my physical appearance are all the results of cultural appropriation. People from all over came to the Philippines and stole from each other without permission. Some more oppressed than others. But does that mean that I'm the representation of centuries of systematic injustice? No, that's just what happens when people are exposed to other cultures. They mix. I've heard that the difference between cultural exchange and appropriation is that the tradition stolen belongs to people who are persecuted and oppressed for wearing their own tradition. But when someone gets mad when a white girl wears dreadlocks because black people are oppressed for their hair, they're actually supporting the oppression. Because think about it, if everyone wore dreadlocks, nobody would be oppressed for wearing dreadlocks. After ages of oppressors saying to minorities that we have to abandon our culture, that we have to absorb into them, finally, after ages of this, with the oppressors, they're adopting our culture. They're, instead of saying that we have to abandon our culture and melt into them, they're melting into us. And then people who preach equality tell them to stick to their own? I mean, really? Hi, chum! Whether you're mad when a Mexican person speaks Spanish in the US, or you're mad when a white person wears cornrows, all this racist, nationalist bullshit is just that. It's bullshit. It's all a big ass distraction from the real and the urgent problems that we face. Please see the bigger picture. Please see that we're all just humans. We all need food, water, community, and love, and we all share the same resources, and we all live on the same fucking rock. Oh wait, I almost forgot. Don't you dare even think about hitting that subscribe button unless you want to help me and the channel out for free by helping us get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can get monetized. Okay, bye.